All right, it is 7:41 in the morning. Time to talk to Brian Insurance Agency. What y'all got going on?
Good morning. We have a lot going on. We were discussing earlier that our clients don't bring us gifts like y'all's listeners do.
As I'm eating what?
Thank you, Miss Debbie. Thank you, Hazley.
Yeah.
What am I eating, Sonia?
You're eating something.
Kolache.
Yeah, I call them a pig in a blanket, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, but no.
What's good coffee, too?
It's all over you now.
It's all over his white shirt.
Rick didn't get home till about 1, so he probably just needs to throw it in his face to wake up. But okay, so
But he spilled his coffee on what shirt?
on his Charlie Brown
Oh,
shirt.
my boy,
Yeah.
my boy shirt.
Oh, that's so cute.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we all know that Rick will never wear that shirt again.
That's it. I'm done with it.
And I like the shirt.
I'm thinking about throwing it away
Okay.
right now.
Well, we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the radio, but it was when we were at the remote broadcast at Brahms and we were giving away Ranger tickets and it was all the excitement. And this is a really important topic, so we're going to talk about flood insurance today.
Especially since I was sitting in my backyard and watching the water come up after the rain.
Since it's flooding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I should look into that since they got new pricing with the FEMA rating 2.0.
Yeah, there's a myth that you have to be in a flood zone to buy flood insurance. That's definitely not true. There's also a myth that if you're not in a flood insurance, your homeowner's insurance will cover flood. That's
Nope.
definitely not true. So it's important, I guess, to understand to start with what is considered flood versus water damage. So
It's real simple. Flood comes up, water's coming up. Water damage is usually water coming down.
yeah, it's usually there has to be an opening in your roof, whether it is a tiny little bitty opening or your roof's blown off, one or the other. So rising water is flood. That would also include if you're one of the lucky ones that has an in-ground swimming pool in your backyard, not like us who
Hint.
doesn't have one.
What are y'all talking about? I'm looking at the computer. Are y'all
Yeah,
talking about?
okay, yeah. But if you have a pool, and then it starts
I told you
raining
about that.
and the water comes out of the pool and floods your house, that's flood. That's flood.
You
That's
know,
not homeowners.
What about a pipe that burst?
That is water damage.
Okay.
And it is covered on some forms and not covered on some forms, but that would not be considered flood.
Okay.
Our great neighbor, Darby Brockway, he just lives around the corner from me.
Uh-huh.
He's got a pool, so he can swim in it all day long, Darby said.
I bet his family.
We just need to go out there and do a broadcast from Darby's pool.
Darby's house. That'll work.
So anyway, back to flood insurance. So if you don't live in a flood zone, it's going to be inexpensive for you to
Right.
purchase.
1 in 5 claims come from non-flood zones.
And so, just look at what's going on outside here. If you own a home or you own property, you really should get a quote for flood insurance.
Well, I bet you a lot of people are finding out now that hey, we're real closer to floods than we thought we were.
Yeah, and another issue with flood insurance is if you go the FEMA route.
Right. There is limitations on it versus the private insurance. And also there are other ways of getting your flood paid through the national aid programs. But those aren't actual insurance. That is a loan program, so you have to pay that back. So you have the national one, which you have limitations up to like $250,000 on your home and like $100,000 in contents, which doesn't, it seems like a lot. But with the prices of homes nowadays, you're looking that a private policy would definitely fill those gaps.
Right. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can write flood insurance, and it's something to consider. There's not a whole lot really to talk about other than, this is important. If you go through National Flood, which that's where most of the policies are written, there is a 30-day waiting period unless you have a new mortgage and required for the mortgage. So you can't wait till the water starts rising to purchase flood insurance. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And those rules are very strict because it is a government program, a federal government program, and so there's no way around that.
When looking into this, I was reading some claims, and one of them that caught me off guard was a clogged drain on a street caused the water to rise and flooded a couple of homes, and that ended up being flood damage.
Right. So just it's something to think about. Get a quote, then you know.
Right, and with the new pricing and the way that the national programs are working and the private ones, the ones that are in non-risk areas, so the 1 in 5 claims, their pricing is extremely cheap now. They're bringing it down, making it more competitive. But on the flip side, the ones that are in the higher risk areas, you're going to see increases of cost, which that should be how it be.
Right, right. And of course, Graham has flooded
Mhm.
before. We do have flood zones in Graham, but a lot of Graham is not in a flood zone.
Right.
So just something that we just want everybody to be aware of. We don't want you to have an unhappy surprise when you think your homeowners or your commercial property is going to cover something, and it definitely will not cover flood.
Yeah, as I said the other day, I was watching that water rise at my house. I was like, ooh, it's getting mighty close to my back door.
Yeah, yeah. So that's our message. Flood, it can happen to you, and get a quote, then you know.
Well, I'm sure everybody's gonna find out real fast the next few days about, because we're pretty much saturated.
Mhm.
So any other water we get, I'm telling you, Salt Creek is rising, Lake Graham is rising.
I mean, I guess there's a reason why that expression, when it rains, it pours, is so true. We never just get a little rain, you know?
Yeah, when you get 8 or 9 inches.
Yeah, so it's just something we just want everybody to know and be aware. So.
All right, so how do folks get a hold of you guys?
Well, you can paddle on down to the Sierra Bank building. We're the second floor, so we'll be out of the water.
Yeah.
Or call us at 940-549-2525.
If you happen to be in Hudson Oaks, we're at 2950 Fort Worth Highway, Suite 500, 817-770-0096.
Visit us online, brianins.com, Brian with a Y.
So get a hold of them, because if you are flooding at your house, then you can get some help. All right.